Okay, hello again, everybody. So we're here talking about another Star Trek film, another film I've never seen.
Oh.
I feel like there's again the one we talked about last week. Save the Whales. That
Hmm.
one is very well seen. Wrath of Khan is like probably the most popular.
Iconic.
Yeah. Then there's other ones.
And then there's other ones.
then there's other ones. Then
Yes.
there's other ones that people don't really talk about.
If
Um,
if Wrath of Khan was Moby Dick, Star Trek 5 is all of the Shakespeare you could ever want.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
glorious.
Final Frontier. This is an interesting one.
Mm.
So yeah, I've never seen this. I've never heard what it's about. Had no idea what it's about. So yeah, I mean it was definitely interesting watch. Um, so yeah, I guess to kind of start, the film begins. It's almost like a western or something, right? I mean, we're on this planet. It's a desert planet. There's some dude who's like digging holes in the ground. Now it does say that, like, oh, it's Nimbus 3, the neutral zone. It's like the galactic peace planet, I think, is something that it says. And then there's this dude digging holes near this tree. Again, very Western iconography. And then this other guy's riding on a horse, and the dude digging holes like pulls out a gun on him, and the dude shows up. He's like, no, don't do anything, don't hurt me. Let me share your pain with me, blah blah blah. And he does all this stuff. We're like, oh, okay, sure, your pain. That's interesting. Um, what's this guy about? And then
Mhm.
he does something to the guy, right? And then the
They have a
guy
moment.
they have yes, they have a moment. They share a moment.
They have a moment.
It's almost like they combine or meld or something. I don't know.
Meld, perhaps. Yes.
And then the guy kind of takes his side. He's like, "Oh my God, you show me the light." I guess you could put it that way. He has a maybe religious moment, come to Jesus moment.
A come to Jesus moment for sure, but not necessarily. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily like religious in the sense that maybe we would understand. Maybe it goes a little bit deeper than that, but it's definitely. I would say it's definitely on the spiritual side
Yeah,
of something's going down.
yeah. Something special happens, and the dude's like, "Come, come join me on my quests." Blah blah blah. And then he's like wearing like kind of a shawl or something, and he like pulls it back, and we see, oh, this dude's a Vulcan.
Hmm.
Now it kind of makes sense.
He's a long-haired Vulcan. It's very different.
This guy is a different kind of Vulcan.
Oh yeah.
This guy's definitely we get the idea he's a different kind of Vulcan, and I don't know. He seems different than your he doesn't talk like a robotic Vulcan. He seems
No, he's
like
emotional. He's emoting a lot in the scene, which I think is honestly done on purpose. William Shatner directed this movie, and I think he definitely wanted to set this character apart and make it very known within the first, literally like the first 5 minutes of the film, that this is not your average Vulcan.
yeah.
He's very different in appearance and his mannerisms, and it's cool. It's cool.
So yeah, at this point I was like, okay, is this like the Vulcan Jim Jones or something? Is this guy like a cult leader?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know I don't know where the timelines like end up, meeting, but maybe Jim Jones was happening around this time or happened already. Um, but yeah, there could be some cultish elements.
That's at least
Hopefully.
what I came to my mind, just because I'm seeing this guy, and he's like using the Vulcan way
Mhm. This is
to
the way.
recruit people. Yeah,
Well, it's also very like it's like he's a literal dude just coming out of the desert. It's very like much like a prophet. You know what I mean? Like when we think of prophets,
yeah. It's
this
like
is
Abraham.
yeah, he's like Abraham, or he's coming right out of the desert to bring sight to those who cannot see.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, here we go. And we kind of inevitably know that this guy is going to meet up with our crew of the Enterprise, and there's going to be some kind of a conflict, or Who knows? Who knows what?
Mm.
Who knows what this guy's purpose is? But at some point, I'm sure that Kirk and the team are gonna meet up with him. And I mean, obviously, immediately like, okay, what does Spock think of this guy?
Mm. And does he know of this guy?
Does he know this
Wink,
guy?
nudge, nudge.
Do they have any relationship? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so then we go to Earth and we go to the Yosemite National Park, and Kirk is deciding to climb. I think the term for it now that we call is free solo. At least that's what I associate with this, climbing completely without any of the equipment holding you up.
Fucking insane. No, thank you.
No, seriously, there's this documentary. It's called Free Solo, about this guy who climbed like that, like without the protection of Spock.
I actually just watched a documentary on Disney Plus called Torn, and it's about like one of the, I think his name was Alex Lowe, and he was a professional, rock climber, very, very successful. He was pretty much famous within the world of like rock climbing, and did not end well. It was very, very sad. I did not know what I was getting. I don't read synopsises. It's one of my, I just like going in blind sometimes.
Yeah.
It was intense. It was very, very intense. I highly respect people who do it. I just have no interest in it at all. No, thank you. It's a different breed of person.
Yeah, I guess he just wanted to live on the edge.
Yeah, that's literally.
Yeah.
Like they have those little tents and shit, and I'm like, oh, fuck that. No.
Oh, you're talking about like a tent.
It like hangs off the side of like the mountain. I'm like, no. Ew.
Like
David.
They like you keep climbing and then you get to a little point where there's a ledge.
I don't see no freaking ledge. I'm just seeing air. It's impressive. Yeah. But oh man.
That's I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I couldn't do that.
I'm too much of a wuss. There's only so much I can put my mind through that.
100%. I totally agree with you. Like I could not do that. But we're not all Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk would definitely do it. Of course, this makes perfect sense. This whole scene makes perfect sense to me, and further just proves like, William Shatner was the perfect person to direct this, because he just is like, I'm going to be on the side of the mountain. By the way, bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally without restraints. Okay, cool. You do your thing, Kirk. So we also in this scene, what's his name? Bones is watching Kirk. He's like, "What are you doing? You're crazy."
Being a nervous Nelly on the ground. It's hilarious. That would be me.
Yeah, and he's like, "Why am I talking to myself?" Well, he's like, the binoculars looking at him. And then Spock shows up with rocket boots.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we get in this whole scene, and they have like a chat. Concentration is vital. You must become one with the rock. Okay, Spock.
And Kirk's like, I was doing that, and then you showed up.
Yeah, he showed up, and then he falls, and then Spock saves him, basically. It's
just like, I was one with the rock, and then you decided to show up with your stupid little rocket boots, you overachiever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's funny. So that's what they're doing. They're on a camping trip, basically.
They're on leave. I love when they're on leave.
Yeah, they're on leave. So they're relaxing, and they decided to, go. We'll see what else they do. There's another couple of fun scenes of what they do while they're out. And you said, yeah, it is cute. So then we go to Paradise City on Nimbus 3, and we go to some like dive bar, strip club joint. Yeah, it's pretty
freaky. It's pretty freaky. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
I think we see cat people for the first time.
Yeah. We see a cat person, all right.
Yeah.
And in this dive bar or strip club or whatever it is, there's this meeting of these three people. It's like some human person, there's a Romulan representative, and then there's this retired like Klingon general or something like that.
Yeah, he's a little gross. They're all a little gross.
They're all like, this is the place where this is the equivalent of like, what was ever that in the Mos Eisley bar.
Yes.
It's like the scum and a hive of scum and villainy, as
pretty much. Yeah. These aren't reputable people.
Nah, they're these are the dredge. I don't even remember why they're meeting up. They have some kind of something they're talking about. Now their whole worldview is about to change because the Vulcan dude shows up there, and so he has his own. I mean, he's basically building. This is why I felt like it was a religious thing, because he's building a following.
Oh yeah, he's definitely building a following. He's got a little army going.
Wherever he goes, people are just like, once he does his thing, I'm sure it's like a mind meld. At this point, before we figure out what he's doing, he's like using something.
It's definitely Vulcan mysticism for sure. Vulcans have a very interesting religious philosophical background, which I find very interesting. Logic is basically their religion, if you had to call it something, instead of just it being kind of just like a, not necessarily a state of being, but just I guess I can't really describe it at the moment. I'm dumb today. But yeah, he's definitely building some kind of following using the mysticism of Vulcans.
Yeah, and we get a little bit, because like basically the Vulcans, they were like, at first they were primal, right?
Primal savage, and just they gave into like their baser instincts. They were always fighting each other. They were probably on the brink of extinction of some kind. And eventually, at some point, there were two branches that broke off. So you have your regular Vulcans, and then you have your Romulans, who basically calmed down because they're like, oh, we can't really keep fighting each other, because even though they keep fighting each other, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. The Romulans never stopped killing each other, really. But then this dude named Surak came along and was like, no, we need to not kill each other. We need to follow the ways of logic. And I think he went wandering in a desert, too, at one point, too.
He probably came out of the desert, and that's when he had his revelation.
Or he probably went into the desert, had his revelation, came back, and was like, dude, we all just need to chill.
We need logic.
Calm down. Yeah.
And, kind of makes you wonder what happened to the people who didn't take the logic step.
They were Romulans. They left.
Yeah.
They left. They were like, yeah, peace out. We're getting out of here.
They went to Romulus. Yeah.
Pretty much, they went to Romulus. I'm like, you guys can fuck off with your fruity, snooty fucking logic.
Yeah. We're gonna conquer planets.
We're gonna conquer planets. We're gonna be basically the Roman Empire. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I mean, they do have cloaking technology, and the Vulcans don't. I don't know if that's an ethical thing on the Vulcans' part, though. So.
Yeah. So again, we see this Vulcan dude. He shows up, and then everything changes, and he starts taking people start joining he starts seeing things from his perspective, and so we'll see how things line up. So,
like a cult leader, he's very charismatic.
He's very charismatic, and again, whenever people have this experience with him, they're immediately on his side.
Basically. Oh, and they're totally changed. So they don't need to drink any Kool-Aid. He shows them the path. He's like,
he is the Kool-Aid.
Dude. He is the Kool-Aid, exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what the fuck is he doing to make all these people believe in him? And you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So Uhura and Scotty are basically aboard the Enterprise, and they get this kind of they're getting a distress signal. So the Enterprise is jacked up. There's some problems. There's all kinds of stuff not working, and Scotty's been trying to fix it, but Scotty's
gonna have a heart attack trying to fix it. Poor Scotty.
And Uhura and Scotty are having a thing. It's like a thing budding.
I don't know what the fuck that came from. Yeah. I don't know what. I think William Shatner just wanted to fuck with his co-stars, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. We'll see that a little bit later on.
Well, you always kind of had they couldn't really pair her with anyone because of the times, except for that one really weird episode where she kisses Kirk. But she never really had a love interest per se. Yeah. Sulu comes on to her at one point because he's drugged up or something like that.
Yeah.
But she always kind of just smacked everybody around. So maybe
I feel
she always had a thing for Scotty. I don't know.
Well, this movie seems to be putting that out there.
It's weird.
I don't know if it sticks. We'll have to see in the next movie. See if it sticks. But yeah, I feel like Kirk's the only one who really kind of has any true love interests in these movies.
Yeah, I
Person.
would I would say until we get to the Abrams universe, it was always just kind of Kirk and his love stories. But then again, he's always kind of been just like the main character. You know, the formula hadn't really changed yet, kind of a thing of like, oh, other characters can have stories and plots. It doesn't just have
Yeah,
to be one
exactly.
guy.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all Kirk all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we get Spock, Bones, and Kirk around a campfire.
Yay.
Yeah, so this is kind of cute, and they're eating beans, and Bones is like, "Yeah, I got a secret recipe of beans," and Spock's like, I'm I'm deducting that it had to do with some whiskey is added into this mix.
I mean, yeah, they're on vacation. They can get drunk for real.
Yeah, didn't Bones say it's like, oh yeah, it's moonshine? Didn't he say something like
Probably.
that?
He's a Georgia boy.
Yeah, I think he made some moonshine or something. That's really funny. And then they start singing. Yeah, they start singing "Row, Row Your Boat" or something. And Spock is just like, "This is not a logical song. I don't understand the lyrics." He's like, "It's not for you to understand, buddy. Just sing it.
Just go with it. Yeah, just go with it."
And then I forget, but there's also some kind of thing where Kirk talks about dying alone or something like that. I forget. I wrote a note on that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I forget exactly what that was. I mean, that was like a kind of interesting. That becomes interesting later on in this film because there is kind of some conflict, I guess you could say, in a way between him and some of the other crew members. So maybe that's sort of foreshadowing. I don't know. How do they say that he dies in this timeline? Do people know? Like once we get to
Generations, it will become clearer. But you could say he technically has 2 deaths, if that makes any sense, because that's how I've always perceived it as being. But it's complicated. It's complicated.
Yeah, there's like a time travel element, right, or something.
There is a time travel element, but it's almost like he was being held in place. It's different. It's like he dies to the people who were witness to it, but he doesn't die technically. He's just being transported elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, so I guess as we
got 2 movies to get to.
As we watch these films, we'll figure out what happened. What's the But I mean, what's his name? He wanted to come back. Shatner wanted to come back. He wanted to even come back in these other films, the JJ films.
Yeah, which is nice, but it's not really relevant anymore. I think that's probably what someone finally. I hope someone said it's just not relevant. It's not pertinent to the story. Like, as much as I love William Shatner's Kirk, I love Prime Kirk a lot. I think there's a lot to love about him, but it just wasn't relevant anymore to where the story was going. Me personally,
he was probably just a bit like, because those movies were like the whole conceit of those films has to do with Spock, and so Spock is like a central character, like Spock Prime, as it were.
Spock Prime is a little bit more essential to what's going on, especially as far as just like from a story point of view. Kirk was dead. Like if Prime Spock knows Prime Kirk is dead, so there's really no way of bringing him into the fold, like, at all. So it's like, where do you want us to fit you in, Bill Shatner? Because there's really no way we can. Like, it's just
yeah.
Unless we go to another parallel universe within a parallel universe, and then we just keep spiraling out from there. But then it becomes convoluted. Parallel universes are already a little. I love them personally, but they do become a little convoluted after a while because they have their own history. Like, it's hard to do it right and to do it justice. But I just don't think he was relevant to the story anymore.
Yeah. I mean, they were gonna try, but yeah, that didn't happen.
Also, I'm just gonna say he's too fucking old. He was just too fucking old at that point. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's rude and maybe ageist, but it's just too old at that
Yeah, I
point.
mean, when we get to Generations, right, we're gonna see a goodbye to Mr. Kirk in a way.
Yeah. And I think it's an appropriate send off, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there at some point there has to be a send off for every character, in a certain way. So, yeah. So then there's, I forget exactly what, but there's like this Klingon ship, right? And they receive some transmission. I think it's from this planet. And basically we get the idea. Okay, these Klingons and the Enterprise, they're also going to meet because they got this. The captain of this ship is some young. I mean, he seems like an ambitious fellow. Let's put it that way.
Oh yes, you could definitely say that.
Yeah, he's got these. He's wide eyed and he's like, oh my god, I must find Captain Kirk. Like he's the Ahab, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, still, Kirk is pissed off the Klingon Empire, so there's a lot of Klingons who would like a chance to.
Yeah, because we never really resolved the whole Genesis thing, right? Like basically,
no.
Basically, the way that ended is he got a slap on the wrist, which was a demotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like if you were a president and then you get demoted to being a CEO of the biggest company on the planet. Like that's
that makes sense to me. I mean, why not?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'll just kind of give up this responsibility. I didn't want to do the thing I do want. That's basically what happened to Kirk. So yeah, they're pissed at Kirk. They're like, oh yeah, we get a chance at Kirk. Hell yeah, I'll take it. And then on the Enterprise, they get this. They're receiving like a transmission. They have been receiving a transmission from Starfleet, being like, hey, we need you guys to do this thing. And then, so they have to go and they have to go get the crew. They have to end their little camping trip early, unfortunately. So they come back up from the shuttle up to the ship. The ship's in bad condition. Scotty's complaining. A bunch of things are malfunctioning. I think like the door.
Yeah, and the doors, which is actually kind of an inside joke because the doors for the production crew were constantly malfunctioning. They were constantly not opening. There's so many bloopers of the actors just walking into the door when they were supposed to open. So I think that was I love that.
That's funny. Yeah, so then they get Jim and crew, they get aboard the ship. He's also wearing this shirt that says "Go climb a rock."
Yeah, go climb. I want that shirt.
I immediately want that shirt too, honestly. Because then you'll really know. You know what I'm saying? Anyone who's like, oh, I know that shirt, like
exactly.
So basically, this Vulcan guy is taking these people hostage. Basically, from what we know. And so Jim's orders are to go and get the hostages from this planet, from Nimbus 3. And to proceed there immediately. It's like, okay, let's go save these hostages. Let's do our thing, team. And they're off. So I forget there's some kind of transmission they have with the people on Nimbus 3, and then Spock sees this Vulcan dude. And he's like, whoa, shit. Yeah, and
this is awkward.
Kirk's like, you look like you've seen a ghost. He's like, well, I might have. There's this one guy, he rejected his logical upbringing and favored passion. He believed the key to self-knowledge was emotion, not logic, and he was banished, never to return. So this is an interesting fellow. I mean, it is a lot of these films, right? So like the Search for Spock was another one where like they really do like the deep dive into the Vulcan mysticism, like as you're talking about. And this feels like we're doing another deep dive.
Yeah.
Into the Vulcan stuff. So it is interesting to think like, okay, so what happened to the people who, again, like you said, some of them went to Romulus, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, bro, and some of them were like this guy.
Yeah.
And he went into the desert basically.
Yeah, he just like went. I was like, okay, I not really don't feel accepted by Romulans. I'm obviously not accepted by Vulcans. It's kind of like how Spock's whole struggle, his whole character persona is like, I'm not accepted by either world, kind of a thing. And in a lot of ways, this character feels the same way. So he just like took off and went zooming around the galaxy for a little bit, wandered around some deserts. Probably got a lot of dust in his eyes, but and had some religious and spiritual experiences, as the desert is known to do.
Yeah, he found himself sort of having I guess what do you call that?
An epiphany.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had an epiphany. Oh, this is my purpose.
And the thing is, this is this has always been a contention within Vulcan. Like, there's always been either they're called Vulcan extremists, who are like pure logic only, outsiders, isolate ourselves, we can only like trust one another. And then there's people who are like, no, we need to like spread logic far and wide so that other people can be just as, at peace with themselves, like as we are. There's actually another episode of Star Trek Enterprise that dealt with this very heavily. There was just a ship of Vulcans floating around in space who didn't feel accepted and couldn't really go anywhere else because they had chosen, emotion to work in tandem with logic. Instead of separating them, let's just have them work together. And it didn't go great for some characters, from what I recall. It's a very good episode, but
yeah, that kind of makes me curious.
Yeah,
definitely.
there's some interesting Vulcan episodes in Enterprise. I think the show on a whole is a turd, but T'Pol's character was underused until the very end, and she's like the main Vulcan character to basically tell the humans you're being racist, essentially. She's constantly basically telling them that you're being racist right now, actually. Maybe stop.
Yeah.
But no, it's very interesting. They do some interesting stuff with Vulcan.
Cool. Yeah, and okay, so now they've the Enterprise, they're guiding this planet, and so they have this sort of a plan. So okay, so like this place is like, at this point, this guy, he's got a whole crew of people. Like the whole town is like his cult at this point.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
So
it'll be like Waco.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Waco.
So they come up with a plan, our Enterprise crew, on how to infiltrate this place and get the, how to capture the hostages. And it starts with Uhuru doing a burlesque striptease.
Which I hate that. I hate it so much.
Now, I will say that the way they shot this scene was pretty cool, because like you see these moons in the background and stuff. Like, that was very cool.
Everything. I thought it was so unnecessary, because I will tell you about this movie. I've only seen it twice.
Okay.
I like this movie. I saw it once when I was very young, and I watched it recently because we were doing this, and I'd forgotten a lot about it. And while I think the movie does some really cool things, I am just like, this has definitely got Bill Shatner's hands all over it. Like, you can just tell. I'm sorry. It was unnecessary, and I don't understand why it was there.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Just from a story point of view, I don't know why it was there. I just don't. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know either. It was a real interesting choice. It was a choice. Now, like I said, it was shot well, but it's like, okay.
And hey, okay. Nichelle Nichols is hot. Like, it's not because I don't think the woman wasn't sexy or something like that. I think she was fine. But like,
it's gratuitous, right?
It's gratuitous. I'm just like, I didn't understand why it was there. We can't think of any other distraction in the 23rd century.
I guess not.
I think this is the only scene in the original franchise J.J. Abrams actually watched.
That's true. I was surprised that there wasn't like that scene in Into Darkness. That would be hilarious if
she's just standing there on like the dunes and she's got her feathers and she's like, what?
I feel like Zoe Saldana would not do this.
No,
for
I would
sure.
like to think that Zoe Saldana would be like, "Fuck you, you
Yeah, fuck
four-eyed
you.
freak, leave me alone."
Yeah.
Like no, no,
Oh my god.
not about it. But yeah, it happened. It's a
It happened.
thing.
It happened. Yeah.
There have been some interesting cosplays that I have seen though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, look, the cool thing about Star Trek is like there's so many ways that you take all these things, and a lot of these things either don't make sense or they're bad, or like I remember like someone was talking recently about there's like this scene from TOS where they took a they took a guy. So basically, they had this like normal suit that looked like a monkey, and they put these fins on it. You remember that
Yeah,
character? Yeah,
vaguely. I think it was
yeah.
albino too. Yeah, he had like some horns or something.
Kirk could fight him in one of these episodes.
Yeah, they did something very graphic with that creature in Star Trek Lower Decks, and it's
Okay.
hilarious.
Oh, is that the animated one?
Yes. It's
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
children's Nickelodeon animated one. This is like for adults. And it's very graphic. It's very
Yeah,
funny.
I don't know if I've heard exactly, but like that's a great example. Like that was such a they just had a monkey suit and some fins, and
Yeah,
they
they're
just
like,
put
we gotta work with what we have. Like we have
yeah,
these old King Kong masks. Let's use those.
yeah,
We have this lizard costume from a B horror movie.
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
do that. You know what I mean? It's just like
Exactly.
they had very little.
Yeah, they were throwing stuff together, but then in Lower Decks they pay that off in a way
Yes.
that feels satisfying.
It's satisfying and it's hilarious.
And that's
Because
a real
yes.
species in the universe.
Yeah, they include it. Like that's something that Lower Decks is just like, okay, we have all of these. Like one of the main characters in Lower Decks is a cat person. They are the doctor. And there's an entire episode about how they're trying to get this box to them because it's got family heirlooms and they need it or something. And like she gets it, she dumps all the shit out and just sits in the box. Because she's a cat lady.
Yeah, she's a cat. Like, that's really funny. That's really funny.
She
that's
just
really
wanted
funny.
the box. She doesn't care what's in it.
Yeah. The box is the heirloom.
Exactly. The box is the heirloom.
So speaking of a cat lady, so Kirk fights a cat lady in
he
this,
fights a cat lady.
And so he goes into the dive bar where he's trying to find these hostages. So basically, they get in there, and this scene does kind of confuse me a little bit because there's like 4 of them, and this town. I feel like this town, the way they were resisting the crew, like I don't know what the hell they were doing. Like,
yeah, it's a little confusing because it seems like they have more Starfleet people to go in there with them, but then I think when the final confrontation's over, maybe they all got killed. But like when the final confrontation's over, it's just our main characters. It's a little, again, it's a little convoluted, but it's like an old Western,
I mean,
style shootout.
It feels like a snatch and grab in a way, but then there's all this more stuff going on because people are shooting at people. Like, who are they shooting at?
Yeah, exactly. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but you know, we get some good moments. We see Kirk fight this cat lady in a bar.
Exactly. Like I don't know where else you're gonna see that, buddy.
Yeah. Episode 5, that's where you're gonna see it. And he like throws her into he like beats her up and throws her into this this thing. It's almost like a fish tank.
Yeah, it's like an aquarium or some shit. I'm just like, you can beat the shit out of that cat lady. Damn.
Yeah.
Kirk does not discriminate. You know,
he's gonna beat the shit out of her.
I mean, she was trying to claw the shit out of him, so I mean, I would fight back too. I've had a cat try and claw me. It's not fun.
No, it's not fun. Yeah, I can only imagine a fully grown, gigantic, almost like that Puma video, right?
Yep. Very similar.
So now it turns out that the whole thing was a ruse. It's a trap.
Dun, dun, dun.
Everyone's in on it. Everyone is in on this thing. Now they're all on this dude's side. And we find out that this guy, this Vulcan, is Sybok. Sybok is his name. And his plan is to steal the Enterprise and go do some. I forget if he says exactly what it is at this point. But he's basically going on a religious pilgrimage.
Yeah.
He's going to jack the Enterprise to do it.
Yeah, he's going on crusade.
yeah, the last crusade.
He's going to find the Holy Land.
Yeah, exactly. So then, So basically, they're going to take the shuttle up to the Enterprise. Okay, they're taking the shuttle up. Oh, hey, look, our Klingon friends are coming. So they find the Enterprise, and then the dude's like, "Oh yes, we found him. We can destroy them now." So, okay. So then we get this kind of this sequence I did like, because Kirk's got to figure out a way to get themselves aboard the Enterprise while they know that there is this Klingon vessel coming to attack the Enterprise. And so the Enterprise, what's his name, Chekhov, is like in command. They put up their shields because they know, okay, so Scotty's like looking and he sees this thing. I guess their technology, when they're being scanned, they look like a normal shuttle, but then it disappears. And if it disappears, you're like, okay, that's a Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't one of ours. So then you gotta immediately put the shields up. So they got the shields up, so they can't take in the shuttle. And so Kirk's like, okay, so we're gonna put down the shuttle for about 15 seconds. Spock is like, Kirk's like, yeah, we're gonna just like put the shields down, and then Sulu's gonna fly the craft into the shuttle bay manually.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk's like, oh, well, how much time will we have? Spock is like, oh, we'll have 15.5 seconds. Yeah, that's enough time, right? Right, Sulu?
More than enough time.
Sulu's like, sure.
He's like, are you kidding me right now? It's like, I'm a great pilot, but
that's a stretch.
That's a stretch even for me, but thank you for believing in me. I'm gonna go piss my pants a little bit.
Yeah. Cybok's like, you've done this before, right? It's like, oh, this is my first time. He's excited.
I love that, because even Cybok's like,
Yeah.
Was not counting on a Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah, exactly. So then they do this maneuver, right? And so Sulu sticks the landing. He gets them in. But they do crash the shuttle pretty hard.
I mean, he never said it was going to be a perfect landing.
Yeah, but he got him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Got him in there. I mean, it's better than them dying.
True.
This ain't easy. This is not easy. And so then we see the Enterprise warp and escape just as this Klingon fired the blasters at him, and so they get away just in time, which is kind of nice to see. But then on the ship, because they crashed, there's this whole skirmish that happens between basically Sybok and Spock and these other guys, and there's like a gun on the ground, and I forget. Did they say that Sybok is the half brother yet? I forget.
Not yet. No. Okay. Yeah. Not yet, because there's like the phaser. Spock grabs the phaser, and Kirk's like, "Kill him! Kill him! And Kirk's just like, and Spock's like, "I can't though."
Yeah, I can't though.
And then they get thrown in the brig. Yeah.
Yeah, they get thrown in the brig. And then I think at that point he's like, "Yeah, Sybok is my half brother." Like,
Kirk's like, "What the fuck, dude? I thought we were friends."
Yeah, why didn't you tell me? That's kind of a hard thing to tell, right? When your brother's like
I guess there might be some shame associated with it, because Spock is like fully Vulcan, not fully Vulcan, he's half Vulcan, but you know what I mean. He's like fully embraced logic, and
we did that ritual. We saw him right in
yeah. He didn't finish in motion picture. He didn't finish the ritual. He wasn't. That's when he was gonna purge all emotion. He's hung on to it a little bit. But yeah, there's probably some shame associated with it. But I think Spock wouldn't say that, because he's like, I don't feel shame because I'm a Vulcan. Blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, you do, because you didn't tell anyone about him. But Sybok is also the product of his father's first marriage before Amanda Grayson. So Sybok is a full-blooded Vulcan, whereas Spock is half human. So there's some age. I assume there's some kind of age difference as well. And Sybok just probably wasn't around that much either. So they're not like super bros.
They're not super bros. No, it does seem like from what we kind of glean, at least Spock had the experience of seeing Sybok get kicked off the planet.
And he knew what not to do, which is what a younger sibling generally figures out from watching their older sibling fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, and then Cybuck tells us, he finally says, yeah, we're going to find basically it's the equivalent. He says like, oh, it's Eden in this language, it's this place in this language.
Stovacor for Klingons.
Yeah. Shakari is the is the Vulcan name for it. The planet beyond the Great Barrier. So we're going to this place where apparently God lives. Right?
Yeah, that's what he thinks. That's what he really believes.
That's what he thinks. Oh yeah, but they're going there. We'll see what's really there, but that's where they're going. Okay, so then so basically he starts, so like Cyborg really kind of, this is where the culty stuff really starts to come, because he like, even the crew of the Enterprise, he sucks in a bunch of them, and they're on his side too. And we get this funny thing with, again, there's a scene with Uhura where like she I don't even know what the hell was going on with that, where she was like revealed her thing, and so then she's like, okay, Scotty, we have to have sex right now. It's almost what
like,
it's
Scotty, I love you, and he's just like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, girl, no, we're just friends. I think Scotty's like the only one. I forget where Scotty was, but he's the only one who hasn't been affected yet.
Yeah, Scotty was like trying to fix a bunch of stuff.
Basically. Yeah, he was the only one doing his job. He was the only one actually like doing his job, and then he wakes up, I think, in sick bay or something, and you hear, like, Scotty, I love you, and he's like, girl, no,
yeah,
I got work to do.
Yeah, Scotty breaks the three of them out of the brig. He blows a hole in the brig, gets them out, and then they're running around. And this was interesting because, like, I forget, they were saying like the trio of Bones, Spock, and Kirk, they're like trying to find something, like, oh, they're trying to they're trying to send a message to Starfleet. And so they need to like figure out, okay, how do we get to the captain's quarters from where we are? Oh, well, you take a left and you take out 2 rights, and then you go up the shaft, and then you're there. It's like, okay, well, thank you. He's like, yeah, I know this ship like the back of my hand. And then he like runs into this this thing, like this low hanging.
Yeah, it's like a little bulkhead or something. Yeah, he just turns around and smacks his head right off of it.
Smacks his head, and he's like kind of seriously injured. And then they find him, like, oh, take him to the med bay. But that's, I don't know, that seemed a little like a gratuitous joke, but okay, go for it, that's fine. And so then we see the three of them, the trio, they're in this like this very high, I don't know what you would call it, like a shaft or something, and they have to climb up like 20 stories.
Yeah,
so they're climbing, and then Spock has a better idea, so he gets his rocket boots. He
got those rocket boots really fast.
He did, yeah. I guess
they just happened to be there, thankfully.
Yeah, they're right around the corner just waiting. So he puts them on, like, oh, this was far more logical way to get up there. And so then he, like, Bones and Kirk hop a ride. So they get up to the captain's quarters. So Kirk is sending this emergency distress signal, but it's intercepted by the Klingons, not by Starfleet. And so again, this thirsty Klingon dude is like, yes, we know their location now. We can go and find them and kill them. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm gonna blow them up and hope that there's no consequences whatsoever.
Yeah. So this dude's like super rogue.
There's a lot of rogue Klingons you will find floating around. The Klingon Empire plays fast and loose with every single rule that has ever been put down, and yeah, there's some rogue Klingons floating around.
This dude's a rogue,
I don't know if he's necessarily like rogue, or if he's just like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and the Klingon Empire is totally gonna love it.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
might just be doing that, something like that.
Yeah, he's searching for glory.
Oh yeah, which is what Klingons are all about. That's all they care about.
Yeah, he's searching for glory, and he feels like he's found it in this Kirk situation. Because I mean, they hate Kirk, right? Yeah. They hate Mr. Kirk. They want to, because they do not forgive him for that whole Genesis fiasco.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know,
Not at all.
their guy was pretty unethical too. So.
Yeah,
But
and it was
they don't care about that though.
they
They just
totally they totally watched the thing like they like, oh, that's like in that movie, like the dude was like, well, yeah, of course our guys killed some people, like, so what?
yeah, it's like, what do you expect? It's like, you know, we're Klingons, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
our thing. Glory, honor.
Yeah. Okay, so then we get this really interesting scene where now we figure out what this whole Cybok thing is, what he does to people to get them to, because he keeps saying, oh, sharing your pain, you know, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So then he like starts showing, you know, these guys. He shows Bones his pain, and so we see, yeah, this is a real this is a real scene.
This is like a, oh my god, it's like it's really fucking good. I love this scene.
Yeah, so we see it's his father, and his father's on his deathbed, and his dad's like, take the pain away, and he's like, I can't, I don't know what to do. And we see him euthanize his dad.
Yeah.
And Bone says he deserved his dignity.
Yeah, and I guess the disease his father was dying of, a cure came out or something like that, like 2 weeks later or something.
Yeah, cure came out shortly after he did the euthanasia, and so that he never got over it, which is understandable.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Very understandable. So yeah, that's a real powerful scene. We're like, whoa, okay, now that's something I never knew about Bones, that it's very
that he's been carrying with him, like in suffering and silence. It's just, it's so awful. And I think it's something that I feel like a lot of people could probably just, like, you know, watching your parents age and get sick and die is just so horrible. So that's already bad enough, but then he does take his father's pain away, and then he wouldn't have had to.
And then he regrets it.
Exactly.
And then he's always questioning it. And that pain, it's the pain, you know? Like, he made the decision, and in a lot of ways you can, I mean, that's one of the most difficult ethical decisions in medicine.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, the pain was a real thing. It was just like, oh, because he has regret, and he's like, did I do the right thing? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really powerful scene. Then we see Spock's pain. So we see when he was born, and his dad upon his birth says, oh, he's so human. I'm like, whoa, that's a very Vulcan thing to say.
Yeah. And the thing is, if Spock was fully Vulcan, it probably wouldn't sting. But because he is, it's just like, I've been a disappointment literally since day one. Like, literally since day one, Sarek has just always seen me as human. Just
human, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ouch. And then Kirk has this whole spiel, which is very interesting, where he's like, I don't want my pain taken away. It's a part of me. And I need
my
it.
pain.
Yeah, which was very interesting. And this kind of, to me, kind of brought back that whole speech he had earlier where he talks about dying alone. And I don't know, it just felt very revealing, where it's like this is a moment where it's like, oh, we could take your pain away. He's like, no, I don't want it. I want to. It's really him going his own path. Like, we're showing, like, Kirk is going to go his own way, even if it means he's going to die.
Yeah. And even if it means he's diverging from, like, the people he trusts most. Because, you know, like, Bones has been sucked in, Spock has been sucked in. And I think, to a certain extent, if Kirk and, you know, his buddies were just having, like, an abstract conversation, I'm sure he'd be like, yeah, like, no pain sounds great. But in the real world, it's just like, well, then how do you learn anything? How do you get over the next hurdle? You know, how do you better yourself if you don't have some painful experience? We're only human. We're going to have painful experiences. And I think for Kirk, the trade-off isn't worth it.
Yeah. So Kirk resists this thing, and basically the three of them kind of they do kind of side together and say, okay, we're not in on this journey to see Jesus or God or whatever, or Yahweh, whatever you want to call it. And Cybok, basically at this point, Cybok's like, yes, like I had a vision from God to go to the other side of the barrier, and this is we're gonna find it. That's what we're doing, and now we're gonna go with God, because like they think that they might go to the other side and just die or something. Like no one's ever done this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy.
Pretty insane. I mean, there's something to be admired about Cybok's conviction. It's just like, why don't you just take a shuttle and go? Why do you need us?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah, no, they all go. So they cross this barrier and they find this planet, and they're like, okay, I guess this is it. And so they find Eden, right? That's what, like you said, every language has, every culture has a different word for this place.
Yeah.
And so they found this place where God is. So they board a shuttle to go make contact with God or whatever. So then they get down to this planet, and like Kirk didn't bring a gun, and then Cybok's like, no, we don't need that.
It's like, okay.
So it's fine. We're talking to God. We don't need it.
I mean, God's pretty scary and vengeful sometimes. I think we should bring a gun.
So then they get down there, and then Cybok calls to God. There's no answer, and then they get sucked into this cave thing.
Yeah.
And then there's this blue light.
Some gods hang out on Mount Olympus. Some are emo and hang out in a cave.
Hang out in a cave, yeah. So yeah, we see this massive blue light shoot out like off world. Like we even see it from the Enterprise. That's how far this light shoots. And then this godly voice says, "Brave souls, welcome. I am one voice, many faces. 4 faces of God appear," and it's like these different faces like show up.
Okay, Mufasa. It's like, let's calm down over here.
This was a thing. I was like, what the?
I had no memory of this from when I was a kid.
You didn't remember?
I didn't remember it. So when I was watching it again a few weeks ago, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, you see all these different dudes' heads. Now I do like the voice was good.
Oh yeah, the voice was great. I think honestly,
the Wizard of Oz looking head was cool.
I love the Wizard of Oz head. I love that shit. I love the blue light. I just love everything about the scene. The way it looks visually is just so wackadoodle.
It's so, yeah.
I love it. I love it. But at the same time, just like I feel like there's something missing here.
So
because pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, do not pay attention to the man behind the curtain. So I have a question for you, Lily. So if you saw this anthropomorphized head floating and there's this voice that's just coming out of it, and it claims to be God. This thing claims to be God, but it needs your ship. It needs your ship. What would be the first question you would ask this thing?
Why are you in a cave?
Okay, why are you in a cave? That's the first thing. Okay.
Why are you in a cave? Why can't you leave? Because that implies to me someone put you here.
Yeah. Who put you here? Yeah.
Are you actually Satan? Because it seems like something Satan would do. Because I feel like if God was powerful enough, he could just make you believe that he does actually exist. You wouldn't need to go on a pilgrimage. If God is true and he shows himself to you and he speaks to you with his voice, that's all you need. That's all the proof a true believer should need. But instead we got crusades. Instead we got pilgrimages and all that other terrible shit.
Yeah, especially if you're going to claim to be the God that us silly little humans know.
Exactly.
Especially the Abrahamic God. Then there's a lot of questions.
Which is he's kind of a dick, by the way.
Now this guy is also kind of a dick.
It's
so
like,
maybe it lines up.
Do we need to talk about what he did to Job?
Yeah.
Job didn't have a good time. Anyway, but so anyway, yeah, I would ask those questions and then I'd be like, I got the wrong address.
Yeah, I gotta go.
I actually need to go to that planet over there. Yeah.
So yeah. So Kirk kind of asks some of these essential questions. He's like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Whoa, hold on a second. So you need why does God need a starship?
That's literally the greatest question ever asked in Star Trek. Why does God need a starship?
Yeah, and Kirk's like, I seek proof. And then God, in a very kind of, to be honest, godly way, blasts him with heat ray vision.
Ah!
Yeah, it's
He
like
goes all Emperor Palpatine on his ass.
unbeliever,
Yeah.
unlimited power. So God blasts him. It's like, whoa, okay, this is kind of a bad look. And I think
God is
Spock,
vengeful? What?
yeah, I think Spock asked the same thing, and then he gets blasted too. And then yeah, even Bones has some kind of thing where he says like, oh, he basically says something like there's a god that's vengeful and wants to harm people for his own enjoyment is not worth praising or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're like, okay, this god character is psycho. Now again, that does kind of line up with the Old Testament God in a way, so maybe that's kind of a verification. But they're like, no thanks, but no thanks. We're not going to be taken along for a ride on this entity's.
You can keep your Ponzi scheme. I'm leaving.
So Cybok is a bit disappointed. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, he's a little butthurt.
So he tries to share in the pain of this thing. I mean, is this what is this thing? Do we know?
I don't know. I think honestly, it was something that someone was just like, this is a monster. I'm gonna put it in this cave and like keep it there. Like it's just
On
not
this planet, yeah.
And you should have put a beware, turn back now sign.
Honestly, like if there was probably something there. I mean, first off, this thing's beyond this Great Barrier, right?
Mm.
So basically,
so really beyond human comprehension, honestly.
Someone put this thing there for a reason, right? Someone put this thing in this place because they knew that it was always bad. This thing is bad. This thing can deceive people because it takes the appearance of something that for a lot of these sentient cultures feels like God. So then it can tell people what to do and they'll kind of believe it. But it's malevolent. It's not good. So I feel like the Great Barrier was the first sign. Know that this thing was not to be messed with.
Exactly.
But they ignored. He saw it as a pilgrimage, and
he ignored all the red flags. He ignored all the red flags. First of all, why can it only speak to you, Cybok? Why are you so special? Which honestly, the film doesn't necessarily make clear. I'm assuming it's because of he has some kind of psychic abilities, some telepathic abilities, which Vulcans are very known for, and maybe through his own, maybe through Cybok's own journey, he was able to make his telepathic abilities more powerful. And that's why this being reached out to him specifically. But it's never really made clear why Cybok is chosen. It's never really made clear what this thing is. And for something as broad as this being claiming to be God, I think we're owed a little bit of an explanation. But then how do you really put into words what God is? It really actually hammers home just how atheist Star Trek can be sometimes, honestly.
Yeah, because they kind of killed God in this episode and in this movie.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, it's so interesting because like this, but it does feel like an Old Testament God.
Yeah, it really truly does. He's vengeful. He's manipulative. He's just
psychotic.
Psychotic.
Yeah. Cruel. And it's almost like in a way saying we're gonna put this thing away.
We're gonna retcon God.
We don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
In this point in time, we don't need this God.
No.
We're done with it.
Yeah, it is like I like that actually, putting God to bed. Like, we're in the 23rd century. We don't need this anymore. We have evolved beyond needing something to believe in. We can believe in ourselves. We are better than that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I thought that was really, I was like, okay, so this is where we're going. Like, the God is this crazy evil thing. And again, like the way they depict it is really cool.
Yeah, and the way they depict what God gets people to do. Like, he created, like he manipulated Cybok so much that Cybok literally created a cult following for himself, for another being, risked intergalactic war possibly, and just like ripped the Band-Aid off of a lot of people's personal pain, which is like, that's not your job to do. That's not your business. Who said who gave you the permission to just go around telling people like I can take your pain? Like no, like some people, like Kirk said, some people need it. Like it's not your job to just go around and force people to confront things that they're not ready to confront yet. Piece of shit.
Yeah, total piece of shit. Yeah. So Cybok tries to share the pain with this god thing, and it seems like the god thing basically just blew him up, killed him. Then the Enterprise fires on this entity, this god thing. This whole little cave kind of blows up. So then the trio get back to the shuttle, but the transporter, again, the Enterprise is totally jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I can only beam up 2 of you. He's like, okay, beam up Scotty and Spock and Bones, and so he does that. They get beamed away. But then the Klingons appear, and they start firing on the Enterprise. It's like, oh no,
those pesky little Klingons.
These Klingons are this dude's so annoying. This Klingon dude. So Kirk is basically kind of stranded on this planet, and then God's mad.
God comes out of his cave.
God comes out of his cave, and he starts just jacking up Kirk as much as he can. Yeah, this God spirit dude, and it's also making these really crazy sounds.
It kind of sounds like an old white dude waiting for his like soup to get warmer. It's like like why is my clam chowder not hot enough?
This was great. Seeing the God thing.
What do you mean I can't have crackers with my soup?
Exactly. So then, but on the Enterprise, Spock basically kind of has a plan, and it involves. So one of the hostages was this. Well, he was like a retired Klingon commander or something, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I need you to talk to this guy. He's like, are you sure? Like, I'm washed up. He's like, no, this is gonna work. You're gonna help us out here. And so let me see. Okay, so then like back on the planet, we see the Klingon ship like kind of coming down, and it's like it like appears right behind Kirk, like as he is being confronted by this god who's beating the shit out of him, and so the warbird shoots the god thing, kills it. so the Klingons kill God. And then Kirk gets beamed up into the ship, and he sees the general and sees Spock, and then the retired general guy's like, hey, hotshot guy, there's something you need to tell Kirk. And then the guy's like, I apologize. I'm sorry. What I did was unauthorized, and I am very naughty.
I've been an idiot.
That was really funny. So this guy's forced to apologize, and then they have like a party right on the Enterprise.
Yeah, I think they have some kind of party going on.
I think at some point, this guy's like, "Oh, I never thought I'd be drinking with a Romulan." And so everything's good, everyone's happy, and at the end, Kirk has this thing. He's like, "Oh, maybe God's in the human heart."
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Interesting.
Ended on a high note, for any believers in the audience. God is here. We didn't just shoot him in the face with a torpedo.
We didn't just shoot this crazy ass thing in the face. Maybe God is somewhere else. But if that was God, we killed it.
Yeah, but if that was God, we shot him. We shot him. It was us.
We have no bone. We don't care at all. We happily shot it in the face.
Yeah, we happily shot Old Testament God, and I think we're all better for it,
100%, they're better for it. So then at the end, we go back to the camping site, and the trio, they go back to singing Row Your Boat while Spock is playing guitar. Or I don't know if it's a guitar, maybe it's like a...
I think it's like a Vulcan lute or some shit. He always played, like there was TOS where he played a harp. He's instrumental in some ways.
Yeah, he's instrumental. That's how he can participate. He instead of singing because like the song is illogical, so he plays the sitar or whatever this instrument is, and that's the end of the film. So this was an interesting one. It was cool to see, like, even in your rewatch, seeing this whole, especially that God scene, was like things that kind of washed over.
It's like, yeah, I can see why my parents didn't want us to keep watching this one while we were still Christians. Kirk kills God.
100%. Yeah, Kirk kills God. And even the whole false God thing, that whole plot. I mean, this is a very, it definitely, you can't, it's hard to like watch this and not see aversions to like attacking certain aspects of religion.
Beware of false prophets, for they are not but ravening wolves.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it goes there. And
oh yeah, it goes there. And again, it further hammers home that like while there is spirituality in Star Trek, while there is religion in Star Trek, even to a point of being fanatical, that it's really an atheistic show and has always been that way. Pardon me. That hopefully in the 23rd, 24th century we will have moved beyond this.
I mean, it's very humanist, right? It takes the humans as being the pinnacle.
Like
there's nothing. It's just like, it's not like we need some other higher entity to justify our existence. So yeah, these God things are, irrelevant. They're not really necessary.
Yeah, and maybe God isn't worthy of us.
Yeah.
Maybe whatever, if there is one, maybe he sucks and he's not worthy of us.
I mean, this God sucked.
Yeah, this God really sucked.
Yeah, he needed a photon torpedo for sure.
Right to the forehead. Right to his old white dude with a beard forehead. I just think that's funny that's how he appeared to Sybok, when it's just like, why didn't you appear as Surak? Like the Vulcan, the main Vulcan dude. Of course, well, probably because Surak was a Vulcan of logic and not emotion. That's probably why, actually. But he still chose like a human figure to appear as to Sybok. It just doesn't make any. None of it made any sense. It shouldn't have made any sense to Sybok. He should have been questioning it the whole time, but he didn't. He was like, he truly believed that this was Shaka.
Even he drank the Kool-Aid. Yeah, Sybok was just a necessary and useful. That's the other thing too, right? Like, Sybok was a tool for this God thing to try to escape. That was it. Like, that's the only purpose that he served. So even he was being used.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, real interesting film. Real interesting. Yeah, I feel like this is probably one of the most maligned especially of like the TOS character.
Yeah, honestly, it's like I like parts of it. I really like Sybok's character because he's not one-dimensional. He's got some depth to him. He has some motivation to him. And he's the least, like bloodthirsty villain that you generally see. Usually they're trying to, there's, like Nero's destroys Vulcan. And you're like, oh, well, he's unforgivable. Or you have Khan, who's just a maniac who wants to kill one person. And then I don't know what his plan is after that. Or you have other kind of like one-dimensional villains that are, while they're fun, like the next villain coming up in the next movie, he's fun, but it's just kind of like there's not really a whole lot. Bless you, Ellie. There's not a whole lot there to him, but Sybok has some meat. He has some meat, and I feel like the actor probably had a good time playing him. And yeah, and I just love it. I love the way he looks. He's very like much like a hippie. He's like a hippie Vulcan.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Like, he does come off as like a very hippie-ish Vulcan.
Yeah,
from the jump. Yeah, and yeah, this guy, Sybok is a very like classic antagonist of Star Trek. A guy who has a different point of view, but they're not really, they're not mustache twirling like Nero. Nero is like super mustache twirling, like, I'm gonna blow up. I'm gonna make you watch.
I'm just gonna scream all my lines. Even when someone says, actually, you can literally go to Vulcan right now. I'm just like, okay. It's like, okay.
I know. It's really funny. Like, so you travel back in time, and you could do anything. You could change a whole bunch of things from happening, or you could be really mad and just scream and like kind of do a whole bunch of really bad things anyway.
I mean, hey, if that's his bag, then okay. But I feel
Solely
like
is
it doesn't really make any sense, honestly.
the other thing too is like he shows up, Nero, and then they just kind of he bounces for a long time. They're gone.
Yeah, what the
For
fuck was he doing for all that? Why didn't he blow up Vulcan when Spock was a kid and just ended there?
yeah. Well,
Like I don't know what was he just doing floating around for like 15 years.
yeah, it's really because the only thing that we know that he was doing was he was waiting for Spock to show up, like Spock Prime show up.
Yeah, so
And
he
then,
could show Spock Prime that he's gonna blow up his planet. Okay, like you're just wasting time. Like
but it's literally them. They're twiddling the thumbs. They're like, okay, we think he's gonna come out here. We think he's gonna come out
we
here.
think he might come out here, but we don't actually know. Also, no one saw a giant Romulan like mining
Yeah,
ship from the future just hanging out in a out completely out of time.
yeah,
That no one saw that.
yeah.
No one saw it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's that line like,
Also,
oh yeah, me and the
oh, go
Empire,
ahead.
we stand apart. We stand apart. So I
So
guess
have they
they're
seen you? Have they encountered you? Or are you just assuming everything?
I don't know. Don't know.
Also,
Don't know.
why didn't Vulcan is an incredibly advanced planet. They're an incredibly advanced species, and they have no planetary defense systems whatsoever. None. They have no planetary defense systems.
This dude
We're
just
just gonna,
like
yeah, we're just
hangs
gonna,
a drill.
you're just gonna let your planet get drilled into, and hide in a cave. That's
Yeah.
it. Okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Well, we're approaching.
Sorry,
We're
sorry.
approaching that. That'll be
We're
a
getting
fun-
closer. We're getting closer.
Yeah, we're getting closer. We do have a couple other things.
we have at least 5, I think, movies to get to before.
And yeah, but yeah, we'll get there. That'll be fun. Yeah. So any last thoughts about this film?
I think it's a fun Star Trek movie with the original cast. It's not my favorite. There's too many unanswered questions. But Bill Shatner can direct a pretty good movie. I think it's a good movie. I love the opening scene. I love how that's directed. That's really, really good.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. There's some cool stuff here. Yeah, but again, I had no context. I'd never seen this movie. No context at all about it. So it was very interesting to watch. Yeah, so I guess the next thing we're going to talk about is episode 6, which is what's the name of that one?
This one was Final Frontier.
This one was Final Frontier.
So Undiscovered Country.
Country.
Which
Okay.
I actually got mixed up. I thought we were talking about Undiscovered Country today, which is why I mentioned all the Shakespearean shit at the beginning. And then you started describing the opening scene. I'm like, oh fuck, I got confused. I get these two confused because I watched 5 the least.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, I feel like people. I feel like there's this whole thing about like, oh, the odd number movies suck.
It doesn't suck. It doesn't. They have some really good ideas, especially. And I love the downtime between McCoy, Spock, and Kirk. I love that downtime. I love seeing them just be bros. I like Chekhov being in the chair. But there's too many other things that just don't really make sense. There's good payoff with the movie, but it just to get there is just you kind of have to slog through a few other things. But I do plan on getting a Go Climb a Rock shirt. In fact, I think we should all get one.
I will absolutely get one.
Yeah.
It would just be fun to because someone will get it.
Someone eventually, hopefully, would get it.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. Take care. And have a good one, and may the force be with you.
Live long and prosper.